Alright, this is Chat UTD and my reaction to United's 1-0 win at Everton. A big win, a massive win, an important win. I'll get to the performance, but really significant. It's 16 points out of 18 for Carrick. It's a win following on from the draw against West Ham, which I think was hugely important for us. It wasn't an exceptional performance tonight, but it was an exceptional result when an acceptable one would have been a point. And that's great to see. It breaks trends. Everton's a difficult place to go. We didn't play particularly well. And looking at that league table and the significance of that extra 2 points that we got, rather than obviously the 1 point we would have got if we would have drawn, I think that was a huge win for us. Let's look at the game though and the performance. I felt like it was a surprisingly open start to the game, but after about 10 minutes it settled down and was really quite sloppy, very much lacking in quality. At times I felt United looked lethargic. There was no urgency in our play. The body language of the players was different to how it has been. There's been some conjecture that Carrick's lowered the intensity of training. One thing you would say about Amorim's team was that they were very fit, and I think in the first couple of games under Carrick, maybe we still benefited from the fitness levels that have been built up by Amorim, and that's a departure from what new people coming in have said almost every time they've come in. So when Sesko-kjær came in, apparently the team wasn't fit enough. When Ten Hag came in, the team wasn't fit enough. When Amorim came in, the team wasn't fit enough. It's as if we start off with managers who want to raise those levels, but by the time they leave, they've given up, and the next manager comes in and wants those levels to go up. It seems like this is almost the opposite way around. Incredibly fit under Amorim, high press, not always to much effect, to be honest with you, but definitely seemed like a fit team. You've got to be in the modern day Premier League. It's become this season a very poor quality, high physicality league, and tonight the players just looked, lethargic is the word I'd use. There was spells in the first half in particular where the game was being played at walking pace. There was such a lack of quality in our passing as well, which is a bit concerning. It's those levels that I've spoken about before. Don't cut corners. Have the discipline to do the basic things well, the simple things well. It takes a lot, that. That's why Arsenal are top of the league, because they do so many of the basic things, the boring things, the things that would be very easy to cheat on, really, very easy to cut corners with. They do them really, really well. Play like each passage of play is your last. Play like each passage of play is like your life depends on it. Every duel is like your life depends on it. Didn't see that today. It was really what was indicative of the performance today. 66 minutes, Lamens claims a cross from an Everton set piece, as he did countless times tonight. Opportunity for a counter-attack. He looks up, and Burmo and Cunha just jogging. 66 minutes, 0-0. Opportunity for a counter-attack, a jogging. That's little details, but that's so different to the first two games under Carrick, when if Lamens gets that ball and he looks up, this player's sprinting and creating width. Not there tonight. So the levels have dropped for me. Everton were playing without any fullbacks. They played with Branthwaite in the left back position and Garner at right back. And would you have known it? Did we test them? Did we make it difficult for them? Ahmad should be having Branthwaite on toast every single time. And to be fair, he absolutely skinned him. Got pulled down. Referee don't give a booking. Nonsense. That's a different game if one of their fullbacks is on a yellow card, because I'd like to think then that we are smart enough to get the ball out to Ahmad, who's just going to run at Branthwaite time and time again. But other than that one time, how many times did we just stand them up and expose them and take them on and overload them? And when we did do that, as I mentioned in my preview to this game, where was the quality from Dallow? Where was the quality from Shaw? How many telling crosses did we put into the box? How many crosses did we put into the box? Full stop. I don't just mean bunging them in there. I mean like cutbacks, overloads, things like that. We just didn't create them, and it was as I say, a game lacking in quality. I don't know what you think about this. I thought Tarkowski was very fortunate to stay on the pitch, in more ways than one. His behaviour in and around our penalty area on the corners was unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. But when Mbeumo goes and presses, that moment where Tarkowski sort of stands off and Pickford comes out and gets it, he makes a very obvious movement like that back towards Mbeumo, and Mbeumo's not the type of lad to go down and start holding his face. Fair enough, it probably didn't hurt quite as much as he let on, but that's not him. He's quite an honest player. I think he's extremely fortunate not to pick up at least the yellow card there. In the modern game, back in the day, that's fine. And some people would say we'd rather it be like that we can have a bit of physicality in the game, but in the modern game, that's at the very least it's a yellow card. Just look at my notes here. I'll get to the individuals in a minute, but no midfield options off the bench. And it goes back to what I said in January. It's not always about whether players are suspended or injured. Sometimes a player can be having a bad game or looks flat or just looks a bit out of form. Casemiro tonight was appalling. And Mainoo wasn't great. We lacked anything in the midfield tonight. The midfield was poor. And we had no options on the bench. Well, you've got Ugarte, who he clearly doesn't trust and is not going to play. So it goes back to what I said in January. Get a body, get someone on loan. It's not just a case of saying, well, in an ideal world, we've got Mainoo and Casemiro in tip-top form. Well, that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you need to rotate. Casemiro, whether it's the 2 weeks off that we've had or not, I don't know, was as bad as I've seen him for months and months and months tonight. It was a dreadful performance from him individually, and he stayed on for 90 minutes because we have no options. Let's just crawl over the line with what we've got, is what it felt like. I had made a note to say there was no ingenuity to break down a low block, and a couple of minutes later we scored a goal, and that was a brilliant piece of football. Lovely little interplay, and then Cunha's pass to Mbeumo is just simply world class. It's a phenomenal pass. On a day where I thought he did very, very little, Cunha. But brilliant pass, and Mbeumo, in fairness, makes the right decision, and it's a nice finish from Sesko. It's a great goal. Interesting to spot when Sesko came on. I kept a note of it. Right, apparently when we're playing against a low block, Sesko is going to help us because he gives us an aerial threat, right? In the 37 minutes, including injury time, that he was on the pitch, we put not one cross into the box. There was 4 high balls played up towards him. He won none of them. So it gave us a different threat, and he ended up getting the winning goal. But this, he's a beast in the air. He's going to give us all these different options. We're not putting crosses into him, and when we put high balls in there, nothing's happening. Or high balls over, even for him to go and compete, and someone can get on one of his flick-ons or whatever. It's not happening. 4 high balls, he didn't win any of them. No crosses into the box while he was on the pitch. He got the winning goal. And by the way, that's not just a criticism of him. That's just like, well, if we're going to bring him on, surely the fact he's 6'5" plays a part in our thinking here. So are we not going to put more crosses into the box? Again, it comes back to lack of quality out in those wide positions from fullbacks. And today, from the attackers as well, the attack was poor today, other than the goal. Let's look at individuals, player ratings. Lemens, 8. Made a couple of decent saves you'd probably expect him to make, but one in the top corner, which actually was a really, really good save from Keane. But his carrying of himself and handling of himself in and around the box, and his handling when was necessary was phenomenal tonight. And it was a real mature performance from a very, very young goalkeeper. Excellent from him tonight, and 8, man of the match for me from United's perspective. Dalot, 6.5. Just lacks that bit of quality in the final third. Did all right with most other things tonight. I thought he defended pretty well. His touch was decent. His passing was all right. He made some good runs actually. He got into some good positions. He just doesn't have that bit of quality that we need. His endeavour is without question. I saw the interview with him and Rio Ferdinand. I watched that last night retrospectively because I think it was done last week. Comes across as a really good lad. All players now are media trained, aren't they, and pretty savvy, but speaks a good game. He's just not got the quality. He's all right. I wouldn't mind him as a backup right back to keep within the squad, but this isn't a right back you're going to regularly finish in Champions League positions with. But did all right tonight, 6.5. Maguire, 7.5. Everything you want from him. Everything he's good at. Won countless headers. Was an absolute man mountain back there. Was actually, in the first half, reason for some of our more optimistic moments actually going forward, in that when he brought the ball out from the back, at times I just wanted him to keep running. It creates an extra body, it creates something a little bit different for a low block to have to think about, and I thought he did that pretty well, and I like to see him do it more actually. He used the ball well, nothing got past him, his reading of the game, his anticipation, and then, as I say, his bread and butter, the headers, but all of that nonsense that was going on in the box from corners, it's just it's what he thrives off, and he did all of that so well tonight. Excellent from Maguire. Runs Lemens pretty close to being player of the match and man of the match tonight. Yoro, I'd say 6. Bit of a torrid time with Tarkowski from corners and handled himself okay. Not much to say about it. You gave 6. He was all right. Sure. 6. Shaw's performances are gradually regressing, and I don't think he can play at left back week in, week out, because I don't think he's got the physical attributes to do it anymore. But he didn't do anything catastrophically wrong, but he wasn't great tonight, so I'd give him a 6. Casemiro, 4.5. It's as bad a performance as I've seen from any individual United performance for some time, for any Man United player for some time. His carelessness in possession, giving the ball away, putting us under pressure, not even breaking up attacks, strange decisions, whether he's just hacked at the ball at different times. If you looked at his statistics, I don't know what they are, but in terms of ball retention tonight, they'll be absolutely shocking for a player of his quality. It was, well, it says everything, 4 out of 4.5. The reason it's not lower is there was 1 or 2 moments where he played decent balls in. He was a liability as far as I'm concerned tonight. Dreadful performance. And as I said before, if you have a proper club has a backup, proper club has a player that you can bring on when he's playing that badly, but we stuck with him for 90 minutes because we haven't got any alternatives, it's a poor indictment of where United are in terms of squad depth. Mainu, not an awful lot better. I'd say 5.5, maybe veering into a 6. I'm going to go 5.5 again. It's awful, really. Not very good on the ball. One very good ball into the box, which Mbumo should have probably done a little bit better with. But other than that, ball retention not very good. Got knocked off the ball too easily. Physically, at times got dispossessed too easily. Got robbed of the ball. No, just not a good performance from Mainoo tonight. 5.5. Looked lost. Looked sluggish. Looked one of the main culprits in terms of lethargy and body language. Wasn't great. Not a good night for him. Have to say though, he's barely kicked a ball all season, and then he's played 6 games in a row, and maybe in some of those first few games you get through on adrenaline and think it's going to be a dip. It's almost like when you've had an injury and you've been out for a while, you come back the first few games, often you do all right, and then there's a bit of a dip. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm speculating as to why he didn't play particularly well, but it wasn't a good performance from him tonight. It's the worst he's played since Carrick's come in. Bruno, 6, not a good night for him. Got booked for a brilliant tackle at the end, where he's won the ball, and he hasn't gone through the player to win the ball. He's won the ball. It's a perfect tackle, and he got booked for it. When Tarkowski stands and goes like that to Mbumo, and nothing's given. That referee tonight was as bad as you'll see. Not necessarily biased towards Everton or anything, just bad. Just point blank bad. Anyway, I digress. Bruno, no, didn't work for him tonight. A few little things he normally tries, not great. One great ball over to where he switched play over to the right near the end of the counter attack. But no, not a good performance from him tonight. But still pushed, probed, always seemed one of the ones that could make something happen. Always works his tail off. Didn't look lethargic, and was one of the ones that kept those energy levels high. But nothing really came off for him tonight. Cunha, really poor night in many respects for Cunha. I'll say 6 because his ball to Mbumo, as I mentioned before, was world class, and I love the bit at the end where he stands strong against Garner and then goes nuts and celebrates, and he's giving it the big one. I love that. We need more players like that. Bit of attitude, bit of swagger, bit of arrogance, bit of we're Man United, come on, fuck you kind of mentality. I'm here for it. In fact, that probably raised his mark by 0.5, as well as the ball that he played into Mbumo. But other than that, he was anonymous. He just, again, poor decision making. Ball retention wasn't good enough. Taking the ball in tight spaces like he normally does, it was bouncing off him. The breakaway where if he'd have passed it to Sesko, we'd have been in again, and he fell over. Not a night for him, to be honest. And Mbumo, I thought Mbumo was lucky to stay on when Ahmed came off. I thought Mbumo should have come off. As I said before, good ball over from Mainoo. He wasted that chance. Scuffed the shot in the first half when it opened up for him a little bit after a decent bit of play. But assisted a goal. And again, always works his tail off. His levels remained pretty high in that regard, so I'd give him a 6, but not a good night for him. Ahmad, 6. Like I said, you'd expect him to have Branthwaite on toast. Didn't feed him enough. Didn't give him the ball enough. When he did get that chance, he skinned him and he got pulled back. 6. No drama with that, but just a 6. We only made 2 subs again, which I think is indicative of the paucity of what we've got on the bench. Sesko comes on, scores the winning goal again, 6.5. Really good finish. Overall play again, not good. Not good. I'm intrigued by Sesko. I'm intrigued to see what happens moving forward with him, because he's banging goals in, but his overall play's not good. Scoring winning goals, scoring equalising goals, so he's doing what he's supposed to do in the team, but I'm intrigued to see if that other part of his game if he's got improvements that he can make. People talk about him as if he's 19. He's not, but he is getting used to the Premier League. I don't think it's getting used to the Premier League problem. I don't think he's a particularly good player, but he's scoring goals, and he scored another winning goal tonight. So for that, I love the kid. I don't care really if he's a great player or not. He keeps banging goals in, so happy days. And then Mazraoui wasn't on for long. We almost went 5 at the back towards the end. Heaven came on for a few seconds, but Mazraoui, I don't know, 6. Loved his cynical foul actually, so maybe a 6 point. No, 6 for him. Cynical foul when Everton were about to break away. The thing I said recently actually is that we are struggling to break down a low block. We struggled to do that tonight, but that little bit of magic from the goal was just absolute class, and the one bit of class in the game. But we look far more solid. Everton had 10 corners tonight, and by the end I was like, stop giving away fucking corners, because it just felt like there's an inevitability to it that they're going to score. And we defended them well. We were tough, we were strong, we were resilient, and we were too soft at times under Amorim. We couldn't hold on to leads. So that bit of robustness, clean sheet against City, clean sheet against Tottenham, clean sheet tonight, that's 3 out of 6. We've kept clean sheets. We only conceded 1 against West Ham. I think we conceded 5 in the 6 games or something like that. It just means that if you do get that one bit of magic, you've won the game. Whereas we were relying on scoring 2-3 goals to win games under Amorim. If you can score 1 and nick it, great. It was very much tonight a performance that reminded me of when we were at our most efficient under Solskjær. There was many games like tonight under Solskjær. People look back with rose-tinted glasses and say we played great football every week. We did play some good football at times under Solskjær, but there was so many games like that where you sit tight, you have a moment of magic, you win the game, and off you go to the next one. And Carrick was a big part of what happened under Solskjær. And his team looked solid. His teams look difficult to break down, robust. I'm concerned about the lethargy, concerned about the low quality in the passing, concerned about those levels going down. But one thing you can't underestimate tonight is the effort put in defensively towards those last 15 minutes when it was all hands on deck, backs to the wall, real stand-up job that everyone did. And if we can keep keeping clean sheets, we're going to, even when we're not playing particularly well, and even when we're up against a low block and awkward opposition, we're going to win more games than we don't, because of the individual players that we still do have that have those bits of quality. And like I say, with Sesko banging form, scoring goals from the bench. Just looking at the table, that puts us 8 clear of 7th. So 7th would be Conference League, but we're 8 clear of that now. So essentially, Europa League football is looking very likely at the worst. We're 10 clear of 8th, which would be a non-European place. So that win's massive. Huge win for us. Palace at home on Sunday. Another team that will probably come and sit and be happy to concede possession. Another tough game in its own way. Palace have got a good record at Old Trafford. They're in a bit of chaos at the moment, and there's a few players that have played in recent seasons that when they've come to Old Trafford and done well that aren't there anymore. But it won't be an easy one, I'm sure. But we go into it in a really strong position, and with a big 3 points from tonight. So just keeps things ticking over, doesn't it? It's a big win. Everton aren't an easy team to play against, especially away from home. And I'm not sure. As I said, I'm concerned about the lack of energy, how lethargic the team looked, the dip in performance against West Ham, and particularly tonight when we've played against that different style of opposition. And people will make excuses that against West Ham we'd played twice in 4 days. Then they'll say tonight we haven't played for 13 days, that's not helped us. You got to turn up and do the business. It concerns me that I hear these stories that he's lowered the intensity in training, and then you see a performance like that tonight, which was massively lacking in energy and enthusiasm and the body language and all those things, as I mentioned. That's a concern moving forward. I'm going to do a video on the manager situation this week, and a video on the ownership as well. But first things first, we've won this game. It's a massive win, and the Reds go marching on. Not to the glory that I would like, but you know, if you had said to me at the start of the season United will finish in the top 4, there's no doubt I'd take it. I think Villa play on Friday night, by the way, at Wolves, who are having a little mini resurgence-ish. Won't be an easy game, Midlands derby. We could go into that game against Palace with potential to go level on points with Villa in 3rd. Let's hope so. Glazers out.